Hey everybody, thanks for joining me on Coastal A&E here today on TV Delmarva. I'm your host Michael Sprouse. I have a great show on tap. My friend, the renowned, internationally renowned photographer Elliott Landy is my guest this morning. He, of course, was the official photographer for Woodstock back in 1969. If you've seen any photos from Woodstock, from performers on stage, official photos, they were taken by this amazingly talented man, just a wonderful person, incredibly talented and gifted, and a very good friend. And he has a new book out, a book about Janis Joplin, photographs that he took of her when they were traveling together. They are amazing photographs. There's over 100 of them that have never before been published. And he has a fine art photography book out about it. We're going to talk about that and talk about his experiences with Janis Joplin. It's a great show, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after these brief messages. Coastal A&E with host Michael Sprouse on TV Delmarva would also like to thank our sponsor Barnstormers Wood, presenting only the best reclaimed barn wood in North America. More online at barnstormerswood.com. Okay, everybody, happy to have, it's been a while, my friend Elliott Landy, internationally acclaimed photographer, the official photographer of Woodstock, is one of his many claims to fame. He has work, oh my gosh, all around the world, some of the most famous record albums of all time. You've done the covers for the band, Bob Dylan. You've been on several magazines, publications, on and on and on. We're going to talk about a new photo book you have out. How are you, Elliott? It's good to see you.
I'm actually really well with COVID and everything. My wife and I are being very safe. We're masking everywhere we go, and we don't go into theaters or inside restaurants. We eat outside when it's warm enough, and so on. So we're actually doing okay, and it gives me a chance to work a lot rather than just like go around places, which is what our love is to do.
So you're finding some introspective time to refocus, and based upon some of the articles I've read about this new book, you started looking at some photographs that you took of Janis Joplin, and now you've composed a new fine art photography book about that experience.
Yes, that's exactly right. I've always loved my photographs of Janis that I was aware of. Like over the years, I've had to use maybe 25 or 30 of them. I'm not really sure. There's not much opportunity for a lot of pictures. You sell pictures to a magazine and maybe they use all of yours, but that's rare. So if they use 3 or 4 pictures, even if there's a book about Janis, they'll use 5 or 6 pictures or something. So over the years, I've only had the need to look at, I guess, let's say maybe 20, 30, about 30 photographs or something like that. So then when I said, well, let's do a book about Janis, talking to myself in the mirror, of course.
How many photos do you have total? How many photos did you go through?
There's 129 photos in the book. The book is 198 pages. Some photos are double page, almost 100 photographs that have never been published before. So it's
Wow.
really all new. And the text, which I'm very thrilled with, it's taken from interviews that David Dalton did with Janis about 6 months before she passed away. And we've taken the text and matched them very beautifully, I think, to the photographs so that it really expresses who she was as a woman, as a performer, as a human being, trying to find her way in life, and why can't I find a man to be with, that kind of stuff, being lonely even though she's a superstar, things like that. So very briefly, it expresses this. I'll show you. This is a pre-publication spiral bound book, but the book itself won't be spiral bound. And what we do is we take the double page picture and then put some text next to it, not for every page, but that's one thing we do. And then sometimes it's 2 pictures to a spread. So I really mix it up. But basically, my goal is to present the photograph as a work of art. And I don't mean that in a snooty way. I mean, art is something that really moves someone. So when you look at it, you're moved and you're captured by it in a way. When I do my photographic books, I did the band photographs book, and then I started another band book. But I do it so that it's photographic centric. It's not design centric. When you see a little picture here, a little picture there, a little picture there, and you kind of design the page around it. To me, I just want a wall to show photographs on. So that's the way we've designed the book. Actually, here's a great spread of. Well, this is the first time people are seeing this stuff, Michael.
Wow. Yeah, I'm very excited about
first time I'm showing it. See, so this is on the plane going to Detroit. They had a gig in Detroit, and I was going with them, and so on. So that's how we put that together. I'm going to read here's the opening page of the book. Okay, so it's this picture, and the text is a poem by Edna St. Vincent Millay that I thought really, really talks about Janis's life. So here's the image you see. There's the star there. I wish I could read it at the same time as show it to you. My candle burns at both ends. It will not last the night. But my foes, and my friends, it gives a lovely light.
That's perfect. That is beautiful and very appropriate.
And really, if you look at this picture, how beautiful, the star over her head like that from the light, it's and she's just embracing life, what a lovely light. It's just so a friend of mine suggested that poem for the opening of the book. And it was like, wow. And so this opening page alone thrills me enough to put the book out.
That's very exciting. I like the fact that you mentioned that these photos have never been seen before. And I've seen photographs, of course, as many people have. I've seen of Janis Joplin over the years. These are never before seen photos. Only you've seen them. They've been away in your files for decades.
Right, Solly. Nearly 100 of them have not been published before. I've seen them because I looked at in 1968 and 69 when I took them, because I looked at everything I took at that point. I don't look at everything I take now because I'm just too busy and I take too many pictures. With digital photography, it's so easy to take pictures and you tend to take more and more because you're not limited 36 pictures before the roll runs out.
Got it.
But
sure.
These pictures, I saw every single one of them, and I contemplated every one. I looked at them, and I picked out the ones I needed for the various situations. When I did Woodstock Vision, my own book, and whenever there was a collection of photographs and of performers, and they had one on Janis or something like that, So I picked them out year by year as I needed to.
I think it's interesting to me because when you think about the arc of her career, when she first became quote unquote discovered, when she was doing the Haight-Ashbury scene, and she started playing the local clubs, and then of course her zenith rise to celebrityism. But she died shortly after that. She was very young when she died. I think she was 27.
Yeah.
There's a limited amount of imagery because she had such a short career. Or I think fans will be thrilled to see these new photographs because it's something that we've never seen before.
Yeah. And they're really beautiful. I don't know really, I can't answer for how much imagery there is of her. But in thinking about it, I don't know that there's very much. There's some when she did the Pearl album, the last album she did, and then she did basically one other album before that, Cosmic Blues, And the Big Brother album, Cheap Thrills, was a whole band, and no one focused on her particularly. You know, one of my photographs was in the centerfold of Cheap Thrills, but it was a picture of the whole band on stage with the Joshua Light Show behind them. I guess there weren't a lot for how much there should be. Imagine today what a star like that. By star, I mean, not because she was super famous, but by star, meaning a starring light of talent, of ways of expressing herself and using her voice that was just different. There are, in our history of music and singing, there are some vocalists that you know right away who they are, and they don't sound like anybody else. And they're not just singing because they play a great guitar, they're singing because they got a great voice. And that's how they qualify.
Absolutely.
And hers is like that. So you're right. I guess there aren't that many photographs of her relative to her importance.
I think it's exciting for fans to realize that there's going to be 100 more of these photographs coming into the,
they're all beautiful. I mean, actually, that's what I wanted to say is that usually, hard to generalize, but I'll do that because when you get an outtakes album, whether it's music or unpublished photographs, it's like they're not very good photographs and they shouldn't have been published in the first place, you know, or they weren't top tier, they weren't the best of the best, or they wouldn't have. In other words, if the best ones weren't there, would these have been good enough? And the answer is yes. So we just picked out, when I say we, Caitlin Allison designed the book and went through all my negatives and slides and contact sheets and picked out pictures she thought were really nice, and then I pared that down to the ones that I thought. She was right, every picture she picked out was really nice, but it wasn't great, you know. And I try and just picked out what I consider the really good ones, the ones that really you look at it and you go, wow, that's a nice picture. Not you look at it, yeah, that's interesting, okay, you know. And I see, and the ones that are interesting have value also. But for me, I like to just print. I do it for the visual impact. I do photography for the visual impact. So I just chose the best ones. And there were that many of them. It's close to 100 pictures that we've never seen before.
That's amazing. How much time would you guess that you were on the road or with her and the band members taking photographs?
Well, that's an interesting question. First, I'll say I didn't take as many pictures as I should have, but I guess we were limited by film and by time. Also, I'm a very shy photographer in a way, meaning I want to keep out of the way. I don't want to intrude. So if something's happening, I stay back and I stay away from it. I don't go up in somebody's face and take a picture. Now, maybe in these years it's different because people want you to come up in their face and take a picture very often anyway, especially in the beginning of someone's career. You know, they want that. But so I went to Detroit with them. Must have been 4 or 5 days, I guess. They had a gig at the Grandy Ballroom, and they stayed with a band, or they hung out with a band called the MC5, which is John Sinclair, very leftist, activist, anti-war, pro-pot smoking band. And John Sinclair was arrested and spent many years of his life in jail, improperly, in my opinion. The first time I photographed Janis with Big Brother was at the Anderson Theater in New York City in February '68, and that was an evening. And in those years, rock and roll was not a big business. There weren't thousands of people pressing up to take a piece of you. So I was able to go backstage up to the dressing room just because I had a camera. And there were guys that there were some ushers, some doormen there or whatever. People supposed to watch that, but they saw I had a camera and they let me in. Just wave, go ahead, go on in. And then I got, because I was up to the dressing room, I got friendly with them, and I went and I showed my photographs to Bob Cato, who was the art director for CBS Records, for Columbia Records, that signed the band and so on. And he loved them. He just said he was a very special man. He's not remembered too much these days for much of what he did, but he was a very special art director. He loved the pictures, and he said, "Here, I'm going to give you $300." I said, "What for?" He says, "Just for taking these, man. They're fantastic." Pat you on the shoulder, touchy-feely, kind of super friendly, real guy. wasn't held back so much, you know.
And well, also, that was a lot of money in '68. $300 was pretty good, right? Yeah.
I hate to say it, but it's a lot of money today also.
Well, true, yeah, but like,
But it's not as much,
$300.
huh? Yeah.
Nice.
It was
Yeah,
just a gift. He said, you know, I just want to thank you for taking them. And he says, I'm sure we have use for them. I did the Anson Theater, and then I went with them to Detroit, and then they played. After Detroit, they played the Fillmore East opening night at the Fillmore East. By that time, I had just traveled with them, so, you know, we were kind of friendly. So I spent that evening with them, and then we went afterwards to Max's Kansas City. Andy Warhol was there, and Tim Buckley was playing on the same on the same bill that they were playing on. So I have this great picture of Andy Warhol, Janis Joplin, and Tim Buckley at Max's Kansas City.
Wow.
I believe that's one of the previously seen pictures in the book. The last time I saw her, she came over to my house one time with Myra Friedman. Myra Friedman was Albert Grossman's publicist. Albert Grossman was her manager, also managed Bob Dylan and Richie Havens in the band and Peter, Paul and Mary. And they were looking for cover for Cosmic Blues, the album Cosmic Blues. So they came over. I was living on 88th Street and just off Broadway in New York City, and they came over and they looked through my slides, and we didn't even have a slide projector, just with kind of a magnifying glass like that, a loop, you hold it to your eye and so on, and she didn't find anything that she liked, but I knew her already at that point because we had done Detroit, we'd been together in Detroit and so on. Mm-hmm. So it was just like another person coming over. Like if you would come over to go through some pictures, it was that kind of a thing. And I didn't take any snapshots, and there were no selfies and, you know, all that stuff. It was just, I look back on it, and I could, it would have been nice if I had given the camera to Myra and said, please take a picture of us, you know, but sure. I never did that. I didn't do those things. I think that was maybe what, in those years, photography and being photographed were different than it is now. Now it's like eating breakfast. Yeah. You know, it's just part of everything. In those years, it was a little bit of intrusive in a way. If it wasn't a family photo, or could have been seen as intrusive, or it could have been felt that sure. way. It was like the idea of your capturing somebody's soul hadn't quite, which you are in a good way, if it's a good picture, so that's great. But the idea of you're taking a part of the person's soul away or something like that really hadn't left the society yet, hadn't left the culture yet. It was always a little bit like, I can't generalize about it, but it wasn't so easy to take pictures of people as it is today.
Interesting, very interesting. You know, what was she like when she wasn't on stage and you were backstage or on the plane or maybe checking into the hotels?
She was totally quiet and subdued and normal. You know, she wasn't walking around making a lot of noise or shouting or, you know, or imposing things on people. It was like she was a very considerate person. She was really very gracious. I mean, only time I might have intruded on her, might have been seen as intruded on her, was one picture where she's sitting backstage at the dressing room in Detroit. Let's see if I could, you know, look at that. There it goes. Let's see if I could conjure it up. There we go. This one. That's out of 200 pages. I want you to know.
Oh, so, wow. Hey, that's impressive. And yeah. She's reading and just looks very contemplative and relaxed.
Yeah, she was an avid reader. So here she was alone backstage, just stealing some time. And so, you know, I walked in the room and that could have been seen as disturbing her, you know, but not. She just continued to read quietly, and I just took 2 or 3 pictures, maybe 4, and then I stepped out without even saying anything. So I knew how to be quiet, and I preferred to be quiet. I had no interest at all in talking with her then. I wanted her to have her moment and me to take a picture of her having her moment to share what kind of a person she was. And she was very well read. She read a lot, and you have to read her biographies to know what she read exactly. But I don't know too much about her personal life, really. All I know is the time we spent together. We didn't have personal conversations about things at all. I was the fly on the wall, as I wanted to be. I wanted to show her as she was, without my interference, without my imposition.
Tell me what it was like to watch her perform.
Oh,
you obviously saw several times.
It was the best. Their performances, including Big Brother and the Holding Company, they were a phenomenal band. And they, even though there's some bad rap about them, but their concerts with Janis were the best ones. Well, also Janis at Woodstock. I was on stage while she was performing. Her concerts were the best experiences I had in rock and roll music during those years, or I'd say ever. Of course, I don't see many concerts anymore. But it was the most powerful concerts that I was at, actually. Her singing, and of course, she was also good at Woodstock when she wasn't with Big Brother. She was fabulous then. But maybe it wasn't recorded well, I'm not sure, but just being so close to her, and I'd seen her a number of times before. So I loved it. I loved what she was doing completely. I never had a better experience at a concert than watching her.
Wow. How many times would you say that you were able to watch her perform while you were doing these photographs?
That's a good question. Not more than 7, I would guess. You know,
that's pretty.
It was the
That's
Anderson
impressive.
Theater, and there was the Fillmore East, and then there was Club Generation and the Grandy Ballroom, and Woodstock is 5. So maybe 5 times. There might be another one thrown in there, about 5 times, yeah.
That's phenomenal.
And the band was great too. She said in the book, we have the quote that Big Brother may be the best band I'll ever be with. This was long after she left them, she said. But, you know, she recognized that the energy was different, but she needed, I speaking for her now, I don't really know, but from what I hear, she needed to move on. Actually, it's probably in the quote, she just needed to do other kinds of music that they weren't into doing, something like that. But Big Brother, so when I saw Big Brother years later with other singers that they had, many years later, I mean 30 years later, like that, there's a story that my wife likes to tell. We were in New Orleans, and by chance they were playing in New Orleans while we were there for the jazz festival. And they were playing it in New Orleans. So we went up there to see them. And so on, and my wife is sitting on one side of a lobby or something like that, you know, and she's saying, I wonder where they are. I have no idea. And she sees me talking to some old guys, right? You know, and she had no idea that these old guys were, you know, with Big Brother. It was like 30 years later, you know.
Wow.
But they played so wonderfully. They had, I've seen them with a few different female singers. The singers weren't as anything close to what Janis was. She was phenomenal. Big Brother had an energy to them that was fabulous. That was incredible.
When she died tragically, young, 27, do you remember what were your thoughts when you first heard about this? Because you had taken these wonderful photographs, you had been on the road with her. Do you remember how it affected you?
It took me a while to really grasp, to really feel that, oh my God, she passed away like that. And it was the same with Hendrix and Jim Morrison.
Sure, and you photographed those as well. I definitely.
Very little. I photographed Hendrix more than Jim Morrison, just from off stage, and Jimi Hendrix. We were sitting across from during the interview. I was sitting across the table with him, and then I did a concert of his also. But I didn't know them, but I knew Janis. I knew Janis, as I say, not in a close personal way, but in a totally really comfortable way. So when I was in Woodstock at the Woodstock Festival, because I was one of the official photographers, I had a backstage pass, so I would walk around anywhere I want. And I walked into the Performance Pavilion, and she's just sitting there. She had this beautiful velvet tie-dye pantsuit on, sitting there alone, drinking a bottle of champagne, you know.
Yeah.
And I just stopped and we chatted for a minute like it was meeting you, you know, or meeting anyone else I know.
Sure.
And I took a few photographs of her, and she just... there was no posing or anything, no face making, you know, she's just drinking and then holding the bottle out to somebody, and which is what I encourage, you know, I want to see that. And then I walked on, and I forget, I wish I remember what we said, but I have no idea, of course, you know, so long ago.
So let's fast forward to the process. I mean, what was the inspiration that made you say, oh, I've got all these photos of Janis Joplin? I mean, how is it that it came back on your radar?
Well, I'm now, I'll be 79 very soon. And I tend to do, for me, the thrill is once I've taken the picture and seen it the first time. And after that, nothing else kind of really matters as much as my ingesting that first charge of seeing this beautiful photograph. So I tend to let things lag about getting stuff out in a way. And now I realize, hey, if I don't do it now, when am I going to do it? you know.
Well, yeah.
So, because I've got the space to do it in my life, I've got a very decent sized studio. I met Caitlin, who wanted to work for me, and I figured that I just knew intuitively, I knew that she'd be really good. I saw her on pictures. She takes very nice photographs herself. I tested her out a little bit. I said, you know, pick out the best ones you like of this group. And she picked out a very good group of good ones. Because I wouldn't have had the interest. I have the interest, but not the physical ability or time to sit and look at contact sheets on it and slides on a computer and sort stuff out in the beginning. So because she did that, which was the same process I did with the band photographs book, I had a woman named Rachel Dobkin do that. So they make the initial choice. Again, as I said, I picked out the best ones, what I felt were the best ones. And then I said, all right, now put them together and I had the rights to use David Dalton's interviews. And I said, let's pick out lines. I gave it to both my wife, Linda, and Caitlin. And I said, pick out the good lines, like the really interesting stuff that she says, all that. So they came up with a number of pages, and then we looked through that and picked out the best, what I felt were the best quotes again. And Caitlin put them together, and I adjusted them, and you know, we just worked back and forth about which went where and so on. So it's a really nice collaboration. My age was what inspired me to do it, because it was something I wanted to do for many years. I mean,
sure.
These are photographs that I still have them hanging around in my house because I like them. They're really, really enlightening photographs in living. They illuminate life. So I don't know, we need a new word for that. Illuma Life photographs.
Hey, I like that. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a very good one, Elliott. The book, now, before, with some of your previous books, they were connected to an account in order to help offset the publishing. Is that the similar scenario with this particular book?
Yes. Yeah, it was connected to a Kickstarter account.
Kickstarter,
So
thank you.
If you go to Kickstarter.com, you'll see the information about the book itself, how many pages and so on. And then we're offering at a very sizable discount from my normal prices, fine art prints of her, some of which had never been offered before as prints. And also we're offering some lithos, which are basically high-end posters, but beautifully done. They look just like a print. The only thing is that a print will last, the archival life of a print is 100, 200 years. The archival life of these would be the same as when you buy a poster and put it on your wall. It's the same kind of thing as that. So you're looking 30 years before there's any fading, maybe, or something like that. I'm doing a Kickstarter for it, and actually the book was finished. Basically, I put up all the money to pay the people who work with it and to go back and forth with the printer in China and to make the quality good and so on. And so I self-financed the whole thing. And what we're offering is, I'm offering a signed copy of the book for $75. The retail price of the book will be $50 when it comes out on February 15th. These signed copies will arrive in this country on January 10th, and we hope to get them in the mail by January 15th. I have to go down to the publisher's warehouse and sign them, you know, and then we'll send them off to whoever signs up. So people will get an advanced copy of it. And then if you want to get some Janis Joplin prints, it's a really highly discounted. I say that because it's so hard for me to make a print. I mean, I spend so much time making it perfect and making the tones just right. And so it'll, no matter how good it looks in the book, which I work hard to make it look good, a fine art print is the best way to look at a picture. So if you want something like that, it's also available in the Kickstarter. Kickstarter ends December 21st.
December 21st. Okay, that's good to know. I think that's an amazing price. $75, helping to offset the publishing of this incredible book. You get the book autographed.
Yes.
And
Wait, I did forget something though. You do get card, a 5x7 foldable card that opens up to 10x7 with a picture of Janis in it, beautifully printed. I also with a really nice photograph of Janis and a thank you note saying thank you for participating in the Kickstarter project and so on. So you get the card and the book itself. If you don't want to get the book, the card is a $25 donation, but really the card is meant to go along with the book.
Brilliant. And so the book, as you said, it's put together. They'll be coming out in January, and then you'll be getting the first shipments in January.
Yeah. I'll be shipping the signed copies mid-January.
Excellent.
And the book itself, the retail version, the retail distribution of the book starts February 15th and so on.
Phenomenal.
And
This
get
is
it
good.
at
This is a
bookstores,
sneak peek of the
Amazon,
cover
and
there.
so on. Yeah. Well, the cover's on Amazon now. They're already taking pre-orders for it. But I hope if you buy it, please go to a independent bookshop to buy it. Amazon already has enough customers, so I'm not hurting them by saying go to an independent bookstore.
Now, will you be, if these will be in some independent bookstores, which are a great idea, do you have any plans of maybe doing book signings, maybe?
Probably not because of COVID.
Sure.
No, I would love to do that. I really enjoy that kind of thing. But Linda and I are just being very cautious about this due to our age and so on. So many more books to do.
You got to be there to do that. So
what I want to say about this book is that it's my book. My book means that I didn't have to struggle with an editorial board to say what was in it, or to say how many pages it was going to be, or what size it was going to be, or who should write it. It was I did the book completely on my own before I made any distribution deal for it. And so that's what I mean by my book, as was the band Photographs book. And I made it a photographer's book. I take pictures to show the pictures to people. I take them for myself because I enjoy it, but I take them actually to share, to show. And so I created the book as the venue, as the, what would you say, as the object to show as the frame to show my pictures. And also what it says about her is beautiful. Really, I love the way the words complement the images. I think it's a very special thing. I was very fortunate to get David to let me use the quotes for the book like this.
Beautiful. I got one last question for you about this, which is just burning into my head. When you were taking these photographs of Janis Joplin, she, of course, was famous, but she was not the rock and roll icon, supernova icon that she has become in the decade since her passing. When you watched her perform, when you would take these insightful photographs, was there an idea in the back of your head that one day, decades from now, she will be considered, the ultimate rock and roll singer and icon of the 60s, everything that's connected to her and her amazing career, that skyrocket of a career. When you look back upon that, what's that like as an artist?
I never had any thought of that. I was totally in the moment. I was so wrapped up in her in what the music was and how she looked, and getting the exact framing right when I took the pictures. I never thought about stardom or future, anything like that. It was only to get a great image, and I was not aware of the future or the past. It was just really being in the moment. And I was being, what does in the moment mean? It means that all of you is focused on paying attention to what's happening second by second. I'm here for the second. Just loving where I was. And that's what they say in spiritual teachings is the way to happiness, is just to be in the moment. I guess I was pretty happy when I took these pictures. I remember being really, really in a almost an ecstatic state when the music was good and the images were good together.
Excellent. Well, I have no doubt that this book is going to bring a lot of other people happiness too, great happiness, as soon as it comes out.
I hope so.
There's a lot of Janis fans out there, and these are never seen before photographs, and you're so incredibly talented. And these, as you said, these vignettes, these stories that accompany the photographs only make it that much more impactful.
It gets you so deep into her. We worked hard to pick out meaningful stuff, and then magically they all found their mates in photos. Even the pictures that you've seen before are reproduced so nicely in this book that they're worth looking at again. It's not like, oh, I saw that. You'll see nuances, you'll see tonality. It's like seeing, I use the phrase work of art. It's really done so every part of it fits what the meaning of the image is, let's say. So it's really, the book is artistically printed as well. So even if you've seen the picture before, you cut the page out, put it on the wall, buy 2 copies so you can.
That's a good plan. I appreciate it so much. It's so good to see you, my friend. I appreciate what you've done, and I appreciate the opportunity to tell others about it. The best website to get more information about the book, and of course to see your other publications.
It's ElliottLandy.com.
ElliotLandy.com.
Yeah,
And
it's two L's and two T's.
And I'll put a little right here on your side, so it'll go there.
Oh, thank you. To get information about the book, there's not much information about the book on my site at the moment, but they should go to Kickstarter.com, because even if you're not going to collect, it's free to go on. You can read about the book, and there's like 3 videos of me talking about Janis. Kickstarter.com, and just search for Janis Joplin and you'll see the book there, or you search for me. There's a lot of information up there. December 21st is the last day to get that signed book and the whole thing.
All right, well, that's right around the corner, so I'll be putting the word out. I appreciate it very, very much.
Good to talk to you again.
Yeah.
So
I'll be in touch again soon.
Yeah, well, I'm going to call you after this to say a couple of words.
All right, okay.
Okay, man.
I'll be in touch. Thank you so much, Elliott.
Look, so you're up in the North Pole and I'm in Woodstock.
Yeah.
It looks pretty clear, right?
Santa's going to be here any minute. I've got some cocoa waiting. It's all good.
Listen, Santa has already come because he brought us together.
That's right. That is right. Absolutely.
But it was probably Mrs. Claus's idea.
Always is. Always is.
That's what I mean. Okay. Hi, I'm Elliott Landy, and this is a Kickstarter for a new book of my photographs of Janis Joplin. I photographed Janis a number of times from 1968 and 1969. The last time was at the Woodstock Festival. Over the years, I've used maybe 15, 20 of the photographs in various publications. And I'd forgotten really how many great ones I had of her. And it wasn't until we started looking at the contact sheets and the slides and the negatives, we looked at every single picture I took of her. And I was really amazed at how many beautiful photographs there were that I had never remembered, never even thought about using before. For the text of this book, the most important part of it is interviews with Janis that were done by David Dalton. And we excerpted a single sentence, a paragraph, 2 paragraphs sometimes, to go with each photograph. So basically the photograph is on one page, and then sometimes there's, in her own words, something she says about her life or how she was feeling. And I have to say that the pairing that we managed to come up with is really moving. The interviews that David did with Janis were very intimate, and this really illuminates, really explains who she was as a person, how she felt about music, how she felt about life in general. And I just love it. In addition to Janis's own words, there's an essay that I wrote about the various times that I was with her and photographing and so on. Because I'm creating the project myself, I'm producing the entire thing. We chose the title, we chose the size, we chose the layout that's going to be there. And I'm also choosing really high quality reproduction, so the pictures will look beautiful in the book. It's as good as I could get in any case. So the photos that are included in the book are not only performance shots, but they're backstage shots, and they're on the airplane going to Detroit, and they're in the airport lounge. She was a stupendous person, and I hope and believe that this book really expresses the essence of Janis, is why she did what she did, how she had to do what she did. She was driven, and those with a purpose, with an inner purpose, have to follow through on that need to create and need to share. And she certainly did, even though she had a short life. She certainly succeeded in sharing her beauty, her inner beauty, and her creative imperatives with us. I'm quite thrilled and grateful and happy, and thank you for helping to make this possible, to publish this book of really beautiful work. And I'm also thrilled with how her own words bring the pictures alive, and the pictures bring her own words alive, and together they lift up this beautiful soul who created such a beautiful legacy for us to enjoy, us and our grandchildren and grandchildren's children and grandchildren, just like we revere the classical music of Mozart and Beethoven. I mean, she was one of them. You know, it just happened in the 60s, which was its own Renaissance period. So this is Janis Joplin as I knew her, as I saw her, and I love it. I have to say that I really am so happy with this book, and I hope you will be too.
All right, everybody. Hey, I hope you enjoyed that interview with Elliott Landy, an amazing photographer and a wild source of rock and roll history, man. The guy was there at some of the best concerts known to people in American rock music, without a doubt. You can get more information, of course, about this phenomenal book that he has out right now, Photographs of Janis Joplin, on the road and on the stage. It looks absolutely spectacular. Again, you can check out his campaign on Kickstarter.com. Just do a search for Elliott Landy, 2 L's, 2 T's, and you will find that book, and you can order your own. In fact, if you do it relatively soon, you can get an autographed copy. Hey, I also want to mention that today is the day that the Ocean City Comic Con starts at the Roland E. Powell Convention Center. They are super fun. I think the first Comic Con I went to was there, this one several years ago when Jordan Gibson was our videographer. We had a blast. It has grown tremendously since then, and even that was pretty intense. There is a super wide array of vendors. There's people in costumes everywhere. It is so much fun. Hey, and you may run into my friend Tom Chellaney, owner of Comic Books and Gaming in Bethany Beach. He has a really nice presence there every year. So if you see Tom, tell him that I said hello, and I hope you have a good time there. All right, folks. Hey, don't forget to check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/coastalae. Hit the big like button because we love the like buttons here in the House of Sprouse. Listen, you can also listen to an audio version of this show with music and a few other fun bits of information on Radio Rehoboth 99.1 FM. That starts at 12 p.m. Eastern Time every Saturday as well. Until next week, thank you for joining me here on TV Delmarva. Have a great rest of the week. Stay safe out there. Happy holidays. I'll be talking to you soon. Much love. Ciao.